as we moved forward and progressed, so we did 2 different rounds basically of physical therapy. One immediately while you still had your hardware still in there.
Correct.
And then actually we've done
3.
3 rounds.
We've done 3. 3 12-session.
Yep. And so then we did another session after the hardware was removed.
Right.
That was probably the most difficult session,
right.
Would you say?
Yep.
Yeah. And then you took another break, and then we did another session or another set of sessions, fine-tuning things, because you got to where you were doing pretty much everything you wanted to. You even had you gotten back on the
yes.
horse yet? Okay.
Yes.
But you noticed when you were walking with boots, you could hear a difference from one side
Yes,
to
I
the
could
other.
hear one leg slapping the floor instead of placing on the floor,
Yep.
I would say.
Yep, so we fine-tuned things again. And, I really feel like in the last part of it, Brad, that you really... I noticed a big change in your self-motivation, because you have really... You started working out at the gym.
Yep.
And you'd never done that before in your life.
Nope.
Yep. And you said in one of our last sessions that you kind of felt like you've turned a corner.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was I didn't wake up in pain. And it was kind of an all of a sudden thing, because I just one day thought, well, it didn't hurt. Mm-hmm. And I was confined to limited mobility. I'd gained some weight and I wanted to lose the weight, and I'd rode a horse and I could see some places where I needed to work on a few things so I could do that. And so, my therapy was 3 days a week here, but it was 7 days a week because I worked out at home too.
Yeah. And
continued with our therapy sessions through the same exercises the 4 days I was not here.
Yep. And when you think about days that you've taken off, for I think over was it Thanksgiving you were sick, and
you traveled a little.
You traveled, and so when you didn't exercise, then tell me what you felt like.
My injury creates a stiffness when I quit stretching, and even if I don't maybe get on an elliptical or walk on a treadmill, I have certain stretches that if I don't do, it's almost like tying your shoes is hard the next day or something. I don't know if I go backwards or if I just get tight in those areas and I have to work extra hard the second day after I don't do something.
Yeah.
So.
Do you notice, other than the tightness, do you notice more pain in general, just all over, or?
It's more of a just general. I feel myself getting stiffer, and I don't think it hurts because, the stiffer it gets, the less you do. So
right.
you don't do anything, but it does take a little longer to work it out if you take 2 days off or relax too much. Even if you only get through half of them because you're on the road and you get somewhere, there's a couple key stretches I have to do to really allow me to wake up and feel more limber than I would otherwise.
Right. So when this initially happened, and I know you had a flood of calls and text messages, and a lot of guys that this had happened to them before, and the things that they told you it was going to be like, and things that you've experienced. What would you say?
I would say I had one of those guys see me walking in June and said, "Oh, you didn't get hurt as bad as I did." Because I was out walking. I mean, I had crutches. I was slow. It was very hard. Two things have helped with that. I mean, one, medical technology continues to change, and I believe the way that they fastened me together with the temporary hardware really helped a lot to get the first round. But at that point in time, I'd been through the therapy at the hospital and a session of therapy here. So I was 5 weeks in of physical therapy and had exercises I'd been doing since April. So I was April, May, June. I was 90 plus days in of daily ritual.
Yeah.
And so for someone to say, well, you must not have been hurt as bad as I was because I was still laid up then, well, I don't know what their therapy session was, and this was 20 years ago for them, but other people I've talked to said, oh, you just got to go sit on the couch. You got to lay in bed. You can't do anything. And all my surgeon and Becky recommendations were to get up and move and do things. And if I shorten my healing by a year, that's huge for me.
Oh, yeah.
And, we're, like we said, 8 or 9 months in, I'm pain-free. I'm not home-free.
Right. And as we've talked before, like motion is lotion. You are going to have to keep that up. Even myself at almost 50 years old, I have to exercise every day. And when you've had an injury like yourself, then I think that just brings that to the forefront even more. That's
what I was afraid of, because I'm also close to the same age, and it's changed from when I was 20 and 30, when you could do anything you wanted and there was no consequence the next day, and now everything's harder.
Yeah.
I mean, every cake we eat is harder to get rid of, and every time we get hurt, it takes a little longer to get stretched out or healed, or everything is just, our bodies are wearing out.
Yeah. So you also had made a comment to me that somebody asked you, isn't physical therapy a joke? Or is it for real? Or
yes, it was. I was at a party one day and someone was going to have a joint replaced, and they said, well, so seriously, do you think physical therapy is worth it? And I said, I wouldn't be here walking around if it wasn't. I was probably, at one point in my life, not probably, I think I was a little skeptical of, oh, that's a lot of time and a lot of financial requirement for stretching or whatever. It was more than that. It was which muscle group to use to help balance this pain or that inability to reach a new target with mobility or something. And it was kind of interesting to hear somebody ask me that was having that major of a surgery, and I just absolutely said, you have to go, because
why would you go through the surgery and the pain?
Right. Because you're not going to be any different if you do nothing.
Yep.
And I do believe in that wholeheartedly. That's not just helping you with an ad. This is really, it's unbelievable to me how far I came. I would say I'd go leaps and bounds for a month and then sit stagnant for 6 weeks, and then leaps and bounds and then stagnant or backwards even after August we went backwards. But to be where I'm at today, I think, is due to 40-some sessions plus every day in between, continuing the same process.
Well, and to think if you would have had to put yourself through what you needed to go through to get
I would have done it.
Yeah. I don't think any of us have the fortitude to just make ourselves do that because of the amount of pain that you...
Yes.
I mean, I've seen it in your face. I've seen it in your groans and moans. And, I mean, that's why we as physical therapists are here, to help encourage you, be your cheerleader, to say, yeah, you can give me one more rep. You can, let's try this, And,
or some of the manual stretch where I would not push myself to try to put my knee behind my ear. You would, you try. But to say that, it's to find a new limit to your stretch. You could push or pull or do something where I would have quit on my own.
Right.
And sometimes we had to get to that next piece
Right.
so that I could do it on my own the next 8 weeks.